wait a minute, you can't do that. It's entrapment.
Leave my friends alone. Yeah, creep.
You grew up watching those four girls at Eastland. You memorized the theme song, and you thought you knew everything there was to know about it. But there are dozens of little things hiding just beneath the surface. And today, we're going through 25 hidden details you missed in the facts of life.
I don't have to talk to you, child.
Good, because I'm gone.
Detail number 25. The show almost didn't survive its first season, and its own producer didn't want it to. The Facts of Life premiered on August 24th, 1979 on NBC, but it was far from an immediate hit. The first season finished with a Nielsen rating of just 4.5, ranking it 74th among all television programs that year. Think about what that means. Nearly every other show on television was doing better. NBC was seriously considering pulling the plug entirely. It was Brandon Tartikoff, then a rising young NBC executive who pushed hard to keep the show alive and ordered additional episodes. Without him, the series would have ended before the real cast was even in place. What makes the survival story even stranger is what Tartikoff said about it later. In a 1988 New York Times interview, he noted that Norman Lear, who produced the show under his Tandem Productions banner, but never put his own name on the credits and never publicly championed the series, had profited enormously from a show he hadn't wanted to exist. The show ran for 9 more seasons after that near cancellation. Lear went on quietly collecting the returns.
Tootie's told me so much about you, but not everything.
Detail number 24. The show quietly ran backdoor spin-off pilots for years. None of them worked. Across its 9-season run, the producers of The Facts of Life repeatedly used the show as a testing ground for new series, embedding what are called backdoor pilots inside regular episodes without the audience ever knowing that's what they were watching. The Season 2 episode Brian and Sylvia would have launched a series about an interracial couple featuring Tootie's aunt. Season 3's The Academy introduced an all-boys military school near Eastland, hoping the dynamic would sustain its own show. Joe's Cousin, that same season, tested a spin-off around Joe's street-tough family. The Season 4 finale, Graduation, was built to send Blair and Joe off on their own. And in Season 9, Big Apple Blues, featuring a young David Spade and Richard Grieco as Soho loft dwellers, was designed as the pilot for a series about New York City college students. Every single one of those spin-offs was passed on. None of them ever made it to air.
If you'd had a telescope a few years ago, you could have wiped out half the crime in New York.
And the other half would have moved to New Jersey.
Detail number 23. The pilot was hidden inside Different Strokes. Most people think of The Facts of Life simply as a spin-off of Different Strokes, and it is. But the very first version of the show aired disguised as a completely ordinary Different Strokes episode. The episode, titled The Girls' School, was the final installment of Different Strokes' first season. It followed the Drummond family's housekeeper, Edna Garrett, as she took on a new position at the Eastland All-Girls Boarding School in Peekskill, New York. Viewers who tuned in simply thought they were watching a regular episode of the show they already loved. They had no idea they were actually watching the soft launch of an entirely different series.
Handle a shovel.
Oh,
That was the wrong thing to say.
it sure was, metalhead.
Detail number 22. The real Eastland building is in California. The show is set at a boarding school in Peekskill, New York. That much is stated clearly throughout the entire run. But the building used for the exterior establishing shots of Eastland was never anywhere near New York. It is actually the Harewood Court Dormitory at Pomona College, located at 170 East Bonita Drive in Claremont, California. Every single time the camera pulled back to show the school grounds, audiences were looking at a Southern California campus hundreds of miles away from where the story was supposed to be taking place. It's the kind of detail that goes completely unnoticed, and for 9 seasons, it did.
One first time. Beverly Ann, you've been awfully quiet, which is a mixed blessing.
Detail number 21. Mindy Cohn wasn't an actress. She was just getting out of class. Mindy Cohn, who played Natalie Green for all 9 seasons, had never acted professionally a day in her life before being cast in the role. The producers, along with Charlotte Rae and Norman Lear, visited the Westlake School for Girls in Los Angeles to research the show and get a feel for how real teenage girls actually talked and behaved. Cohn was one of the students who agreed to meet with them, and she has since admitted with full candor that part of her motivation was simply that it meant getting out of class for a while. The producers were immediately taken with her natural personality and quick wit, and the role of Natalie was built around her from scratch. The character's name was even taken from one of Charlotte Rae's closest real-life friends.
Okay, Turkey, what did you say to our friend? Tootie, Natalie, get out of here.
Who are these kids?
Detail number 20. The first season had 13 girls. Then the network said pick 4. When The Facts of Life launched in 1979, it featured a large ensemble of young actresses, all living and studying at Eastland. After the first season's poor ratings, NBC delivered a blunt directive to the producers: cut the cast significantly and focus on just 4 girls. Warren Littlefield, a former NBC executive, later recalled the order in simple terms: pick 4 and let everyone else go. The producers chose to keep Blair, Tootie, and Natalie, and created an entirely new character, the tough working-class Joe from the Bronx, to join them for season 2. The 4 girls who were written out, Julianne Haddock, Julie Pekarsky, Felicie Schachter, and Molly Ringwald, would return for guest spots in the seasons that followed, but their time as regulars was finished.
They're all seniors, and aren't they supposed to be fast and snobby? No, they're just like me.
Detail number 19. Molly Ringwald was one of the girls who got cut. Among those written out after season 1 was a 12-year-old actress named Molly Ringwald, who played a student called Molly Parker. She was let go when NBC ordered the cast reduction, and she later acknowledged the experience stung. She was a kid, she had worked hard to get that part, and suddenly she was off the show. Within a few years, however, she had become one of the most recognizable faces in American cinema, starring in 16 Candles in 1984, The Breakfast Club in 1985, and Pretty in Pink in 1986. All 4 of the dismissed girls eventually received a 2008 TV Land Award nomination for favorite characters who went missing, a good-humored acknowledgement of what the show had left behind.
What is this?
Feels like a piece of paper, Mrs. Garrett.
Detail number 18. Kim Fields wore roller skates just to appear taller. Kim Fields was 9 years old when she was cast as Dorothy Tootie Ramsey, a character meant to be 12. The age gap created a noticeable size difference between Fields and her older co-stars, and the producers needed a practical solution. Their answer was to give Tootie a pair of roller skates. The skates became one of the most recognizable aspects of the character throughout season 1, and audiences accepted them as a personality quirk without a second thought. It was really pure problem solving, a way to keep a very young, very small actress in credible scenes with girls who were several years older. Once Fields grew into the role and the age difference mattered less on screen, the skates quietly disappeared from the character.
Thanks. How do you like where I just signed my first name, Blair?
It's very chic. And it'll say-
Detail number 17. Blair was never supposed to be rich or snobbish. The character of Blair Warner, as originally written, was a fast-talking girl from Texas, not the wealthy, condescending, silver spoon prep school queen she ultimately became. That entire transformation came down to a single audition moment. When Lisa Whelchel read for the role, she delivered one line in the script with an unexpectedly sharp, sarcastic, dismissive tone, not entirely on purpose, but impossible to ignore in the room. The producers noticed immediately. By the time Whelchel came back after booking the part, the character had already been substantially rewritten around what she had done in that audition. As Whelchel herself has noted, the original Blair was a girl from Texas, which is exactly where she herself grew up, making the whole thing a little ironic.
Mate, he kept following me around from skee ball to Seawolf to air hockey.
Detail number 16. Nancy McKeon got the role because of a Hallmark commercial. After the cast was trimmed for season 2, producers needed a new character to anchor the show, a working-class girl from the Bronx named Jo. They found their actress through a Hallmark greeting card commercial. Creative supervisor Al Burton later recalled that NBC executive Brandon Tartikoff called him and simply told him to watch a specific Hallmark ad. Burton watched it and was genuinely moved. He described being brought to tears by a 14-year-old girl performing in a 30-second television spot. McKeon's ability to connect emotionally on camera, even in that brief format, was apparently enough to convince everyone she was the one. She came in, read opposite Charlotte Rae for the role of Jo Polniacek, and was cast. The character became arguably the show's most memorable addition. Detail number 15. The theme song was co-written by Alan Thicke, Robin Thicke's father. The theme song that opened each episode was composed by Al Burton, along with the then-married team of Gloria Loring and Alan Thicke. For anyone who didn't immediately connect that name, Alan Thicke went on to become widely known as the dad on Growing Pains, but he is also the father of pop star Robin Thicke. Gloria Loring, who was also an actress on Days of Our Lives, sang the familiar version of the theme used from Season 2 through Season 9. The original first season lyrics were entirely different, and Charlotte Rae herself performed part of that version. Rae later appeared as a guest on Alan Thicke's talk show, Thickie of the Night, and attempted to sing the song on air, at which point she forgot the words entirely.
Of course, I am sorry.
Hey, just a joke. Obviously not one of my better ones.
Detail number 14. Jerry Jewell made television history. In Season 2, a character named Cousin Gary made her first appearance on the show. She was played by comedian Jerry Jewell, who has cerebral palsy. With that appearance, Jewell became the first performer with a physical disability to hold a regular role in a primetime television series. Norman Lear had seen her perform at the Media Access Awards in Los Angeles in 1980 and told her in an elevator afterward that she would be hearing from him. 3 months later, the call came. Lear later wrote about Jewell warmly in his 2014 memoir, calling her an inspiration. She appeared throughout multiple seasons of the show, and her presence represented something genuinely new in American primetime television at the time.
A nightlight and pencil sharpener. First time I saw this, I said, "This is incredibly..."
Detail number 13. There was a scale on set, and every girl had to weigh in weekly. The pressure around the cast's physical appearances was not occasional or subtle. It was a regular, structured part of the production routine. Charlotte Rae later confirmed that a scale was kept on set and the actresses were required to step on it each week. After the comedian Joan Rivers publicly mocked the show by calling it the fats of life, producers grew acutely self-conscious about the girls' appearances. The catered snacks that had once been part of daily life on set were quietly replaced with vegetables. Lisa Whelchel later recalled being told she would not be allowed to take a vacation in Texas during a production hiatus because the producers had already arranged for her to spend that time at a weight loss facility instead. These were young women growing up in public, under a level of physical scrutiny that is hard to fully appreciate now.
To me, Natalie? Huh? How about it?
Look, I appreciate what you guys are doing. Snake just needs a little time to himself.
Detail number 12. Producers actually told Mindy Cohn to gain weight. While Whelchel faced pressure to lose weight, Mindy Cohn encountered almost the opposite problem. When she returned from a summer break having visibly slimmed down, producers were alarmed rather than pleased. They told her she needed to put the weight back on, with some accounts placing the number they mentioned as high as 40 pounds. Cohn's mother was incensed and made it clear in no uncertain terms that was not going to happen. The contrast between what was being demanded of the two actresses says a great deal about how the production managed these young women's bodies. One was being redirected to a weight loss program during her vacation. The other was being told her body had gotten too small. Both lived with the aftermath of those conversations. Detail number 11. Charlotte Rae, once killed an anti-gay joke on her own authority. At some point during the show's run, a script landed on set with a line in it that Charlotte Rae found unacceptable. According to an Entertainment Weekly report on the show, one of the male characters was being mocked in the script for being effeminate, a casual throwaway anti-gay joke of the kind that was fairly standard in network television at the time. Rae vetoed it. She refused to let it air, and the reason she gave was direct. On this show, nobody makes fun of people's sexuality. The line was removed. What makes the story notable is that Rae did this on her own, not following a network policy, not responding to pressure from outside. She simply decided it wasn't who the show was and acted on that. For a network sitcom in the early 1980s, that was not a small thing.
That last drink of champagne, or even the first. Oh, you were always a terrible influence on me.
Detail number 10. Charlotte Rae begged to let Mrs. Garrett lose her temper. Charlotte Rae played Edna Garrett as a calm, warm, endlessly patient figure. But holding to that particular version of the character wasn't always something she did by choice. In her memoir, Rae wrote that she went to the producers repeatedly and asked for more complexity in the role. She wanted Mrs. Garrett to occasionally raise her voice, to get genuinely frustrated, to behave like a real woman who had limits. The producers said no, consistently and firmly. Mrs. Garrett was to remain a steady and reassuring presence at all times. Rae found the creative constraint genuinely frustrating throughout her time on the show, and it became one of several factors contributing to her decision to leave at the end of season 7.
I went to all of his games. I waited for him after class. I even knitted him a red cap. And then,
Detail number 9. Charlotte Rae personally recommended Cloris Leachman as her replacement. When Charlotte Rae left the series in 1986, she helped determine who would follow her. She recommended Cloris Leachman to step in as Beverly Ann Stickle, introduced as Mrs. Garrett's sister. That recommendation came from decades of personal friendship. Rae and Leachman had been classmates together at Northwestern University and had lived as roommates during their early years as young, struggling actors in New York City. They had known each other long before either of them was famous. On the show, Edna and Beverly Ann were sisters. In real life, Charlotte Rae and Cloris Leachman were born just 8 days apart.
You should see Kuwait TV. They got one American show. I was the big hero because I knew how Gilligan got off the island.
Detail number 8. George Clooney was added to save the ratings. By season 7, the show was still drawing a reasonable audience but had clearly lost some momentum. To inject new energy into the production, the producers brought in a young actor named George Clooney to join the regular cast as a handyman named George Burnett. His arrival was tied to a dramatic story development. Mrs. Garrett's bakery was destroyed in a fire in the season 7 premiere, and Clooney's character helped the girls rebuild and reopen it as a pop culture-themed gift shop called Over Our Heads. The 3 episodes surrounding that storyline all landed in the weekly top 10 in the ratings. It was a genuine reversal of fortune for the show's numbers. At the time, nobody on set was treating Clooney as anything other than a new regular. He was a working actor with a handful of television credits and no particular mystique attached to his name.
Attention.
Detail number 7. Lisa Whelchel doesn't remember kissing George Clooney. Clooney's character eventually shared a romantic scene with Lisa Whelchel's Blair, including an on-screen kiss. In retrospect, given everything Clooney became, that sounds like a memorable professional moment. Whelchel has said otherwise. In interviews over the years, she has described the experience as something she barely registers in her memory at all. She has recalled it as entirely unremarkable at the time. And honestly, that makes sense. In the mid-1980s, George Clooney was not the George Clooney the world would come to know. He was just a young actor working a recurring role on a sitcom, the same as any other week on that set.
You wouldn't by any chance like to go with me?
Blair, that is so generous of you.
Detail number 6. The virginity storyline was rewritten because of Lisa Whelchel's faith. During the final season of the show, the writing team decided that one of the 4 main characters would lose her virginity on screen. Blair was originally the character they had in mind. Lisa Whelchel refused. Having become a practicing Christian at 10 years old, she felt the storyline was something she could not be part of, both on personal grounds and because she didn't want the character to serve as a model for that kind of decision for the show's younger viewers. She asked to be written out of the episode entirely. Mindy Cohn then volunteered to take the storyline over for Natalie, reasoning that her character was already in a committed long-term relationship and it made sense narratively. The episode, The First Time, aired with a parental advisory and finished 22nd in the weekly ratings. Detail number 5. Nancy McKeon nearly played Monica on Friends. After The Facts of Life wrapped in 1988, Nancy McKeon came remarkably close to landing one of the most celebrated roles in television history. In 1994, she and Courtney Cox both auditioned for the role of Monica Geller on Friends. According to Lori Openden, the former head of casting at NBC, the final decision came down to just those 2 actresses. The show's creators, Marta Kaufman and David Crane, walked off together to deliberate and came back having chosen Courtney Cox. It is one of those alternate history moments in television that genuinely invites a double take, a version of Friends with Nancy McKeon as Monica. McKeon went on to headline her own sitcom, Can't Hurry Love, which premiered in 1995.
In a word. My mother says that any day now I'm going to shoot right up. When would I have to start? Let me take you.
Detail number 4. Mackenzie Astin's family tree is extraordinary. Mackenzie Astin joined the cast in season 6 as Andy Moffat, a young boy who eventually became Beverly Ann's legally adopted son in the episode A Boy About the House. His family background is something out of Hollywood royalty. His mother is Academy Award-winning actress Patty Duke, best known for her work in The Miracle Worker. His father is actor John Astin, who played the unforgettable Gomez Addams in The Addams Family. And his brother is Sean Astin, who years later would become globally known as Samwise Gamgee in Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings trilogy. Mackenzie was the only member of his immediate family not yet widely recognized when he joined the Facts of Life, though that would eventually change as well.
School. Well, did he look anything like this?
I couldn't tell. The axe handle was blocking his face.
Detail number 3. The show tackled topics no other sitcom would touch. What set The Facts of Life apart from nearly every other sitcom of its era was a genuine willingness to go to uncomfortable places. Over 9 seasons, the show addressed racism, abortion, eating disorders, drug abuse, alcoholism, adoption, rape, and suicide. These weren't one-off episodes designed purely to generate attention. They were written with enough care and honesty that they actually said something. Many viewers, especially younger women watching the show at roughly the same age as the characters, found themselves seeing their own experiences reflected on screen in a way that almost nothing else on television offered. The show balanced those serious moments with genuine humor, and keeping both things alive at once is harder than it looks.
He was way too tall.
Guys, what do you say we head back?
Detail number 2. The series finale set up a spin-off that never happened. The final episode of The Facts of Life aired on May 7th, 1988. NBC had actually been planning a 10th season. The show was still performing well enough to justify continuing. But Mindy Cohn and Nancy McKeon both decided they were done and declined to return for another year. The finale was written to honor that decision while leaving something open. Blair buys Eastland, converts it into a co-educational school, and steps into the Mrs. Garrett role herself, mentoring a new group of students. The episode was deliberately constructed as a setup for a continuation the producers hoped NBC would greenlight, a series tentatively called The Facts of Life, The Next Generation. The network never moved forward with it.
I've seen it look a lot worse. Remember that big storm? And the doorbell rang, and you thought it was Roger.
Detail number 1. A planned revival fell apart over a secret side deal. Decades after the show ended, a full revival came much closer to happening than most people realized. After the warm reception to a 2021 live in front of a studio audience special that recreated a Facts of Life episode, Norman Lear encouraged the original cast to develop a new series. According to Mindy Cohn, the project was genuinely well into the planning stages. This was not just a casual conversation. Then, one cast member, Cohn declined to name her publicly, went behind the others and quietly attempted to negotiate a separate deal for a personal spin-off centered on her own character. When the rest of the group learned what had happened, the resulting rift was significant enough to end the revival entirely. In a July 2024 interview, Cohn stated plainly that the new series was very dead. 9 seasons, hundreds of episodes, and a cast that genuinely grew up together on screen. The Facts of Life was more than a sitcom. It kept reinventing itself and kept working, even when the network nearly canceled it before it found its audience. Even when people behind the scenes disagreed about what the show should be. Even when the cameras weren't rolling and the real drama was somewhere else entirely. The stories behind those years are every bit as interesting as anything that happened on screen. If you enjoyed going through all of this, hit that like button and subscribe. There are plenty more of these waiting for you right here. We'll see you in the next one.